Good evening, folks. Happy Friday Eve. This is Mike Fuji on Philly Flair. Tonight I got a Philadelphia legend, 50 years of announcing for the Philadelphia Phillies. My part, Mr. Dan Baker. Mr. Baker, welcome to Philly Flair. I appreciate you coming on. How are you this evening?
Thank you, Mike. Happy to be here, coming off of a Phillies series win over the Baltimore Orioles, who possess the best record in the American League. And I think the Phillies are on their way.
I agree. Trade deadline a couple days away. Mr. Baker, like I said, I appreciate you taking your time out. You've been with the Phillies for, I believe, 52 years now.
Yeah, this is actually 52, but I only count 51, Mike, because I missed the pandemic-shortened year when I had a tumor removed from my maxillary sinus. And just one of those things, of course, any one of a number of us face medical challenges. And but I've been back, and I've announced just about every game since.
That's amazing. I mean, starting the year, I was born in 1972, so I'm 51. You worked. I know you worked 6 World Series. I guess you worked about 7 or 8 NLCSs from the late 70s.
Yes.
And I mean, that's, you worked for, the Eagles for quite some time. You did 3 NFC championships.
Yes, sir.
I see you grew up in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. Can you tell myself and the audience how you wanted to get into the broadcasting?
Well, Mike, I was born in Philadelphia. My mom and dad and brother and sisters lived at 5017 Springfield Avenue in Southwest Philadelphia, between 50th and 51st on Springfield, just down the street from the wonderful Catholic Church, St. Francis de Sales. And like many families at the time, my mom and dad wanted, a little more land. We lived in a corner row house, one of which was divided into 4 apartments. So, since we now had 4 children, really, we needed a bigger home. And my mom and dad in 1954 moved us to Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. And that's where I really learned my appreciation of Philadelphia sports, the Phillies, the Eagles, the Warriors, the Big Five. Went to Mount Ephraim Public Schools, which are terrific, Audubon High School, Glassboro State College. I played 2 years of JV basketball at Glassboro State College, now Rowan. Suited varsity as a sophomore, but knew, when I was a younger kid, Mike, like maybe yourself and many other of us Philadelphians, I envisioned myself as a Phillies player someday, or an Eagle, but then, realism kicks in, like when you're a teenager, you realize that there's only so many people that are lucky enough to rise to that level of perfection. And although I wasn't a good enough athlete, I was a pretty good talker, and I really knew sports. So my last 2 years at Glassboro State, now Rowan, I applied. UHF television came into existence, Mike, in the late 60s. So Channel 17, Channel 29, Channel 48. So I applied for the job as the mail boy at Channel 48.
Oh well.
$1.50 an hour, $40 a week, $60. I was in the big grass,
Right.
and but it was a great experience. More than the money, the contacts, Mike, that I was able to make. I worked with Stu Nahan, Captain Philadelphia, and the
Wow.
first TV voice of the Philadelphia Flyers. Eric Page, who did the play-by-play announcing for the WWF, and Buddy
Wow.
Wagner, who is the public address announcer, for Vince McMahon Sr. Well, I later became the backup announcer for him.
Oh
And
wow.
I was always looking, while I enjoyed the wrestling immensely, baseball, basketball, and football were, my favorites. And I thought to myself, if I can't be a player professionally in one of those sports, I wonder what I could do to be able to go there on a regular basis, because going to Connie Mack Stadium as a kid and seeing that green grass and hearing the cheering and, you know, smelling the sausage sandwiches, the cigars. I know it may sound funny, but it was just, uh, oh my gosh, a sensory overload, and
Right.
I enjoyed it so much, and wondered if it might be possible for me to be here on a regular basis someday. Anyway, when I graduated from teaching, well, the summers of 69, 70, and 71, I toured New England with all their Auto Daredevil shows, announcing
Okay.
them, which were owned by Buddy Wagner, the colorful and flamboyant ring announcer for the WWF, who I tried to emulate. And on the rare occasions that he couldn't do the show, I filled in for him. And I learned a lot. He was a great mentor, as was Stu Nahan, and more so Jay Randolph of the St. Louis Cardinals, who was their baseball and football play-by-play announcer. So, uh, being around these terrific veteran sportscasters, I was able to learn a lot. It was like getting a master's uh, degree in sports communications. And later on, I did play-by-play for my own company for producing West Philadelphia High School boys basketball when Gene Banks, a former student of mine, played there, and Pat Cassidy from West Catholic, and who was the director of operations for Veterans Stadium, recommended me to Bill Giles when the Phillies decided that they were looking. The Phillies opened at the Vet in 1971. Um, but they decided that they wanted to make a change in PA announcers if they could find the right person. So they interviewed a number of people, among them the great Flyers announcer Gene Hart. I was one of the five. And because of Gene's commitment to the Flyers, which was significant, I think that probably knocked him out. Uh, but Bill Giles hired me, for which I'm very grateful, and I've been there ever since.
That's a pretty impressive resume when you go back to Vince McMahon Sr., Stu Nahan, who was pretty much the ring announcer in the Rocky movies.
Absolutely,
And did you ever have the chance to work with Bill Campbell or Byron
oh,
Som?
absolutely. Uh, I didn't so much work with Bai Sam, although I admired him greatly, but I formed my own production company to produce high school basketball and football
Okay.
in Philadelphia, and then later Big Five basketball, Temple football, and Penn football. And I did that for like 21 years. And I made a couple of deals with uh, different Philadelphia radio stations, including WIP, and they wanted me to use Merrill Reese and Bill Campbell as the play-by-play guy, which I had been the play-by-play guy. Well, it was a sacrifice I was certainly willing to make to get two great talents like Merrill and Bill to be a part of the Big Five basketball radio package that I produced. And they were fantastic to work with, and Merle and I are very close friends and remain so to this day.
Well, I see your Big Five sign right above you,
Yeah,
behind you there.
yes,
Um, I mean, that's like you were saying. I mean, that's a very impressive resume that you've worked with some of the you worked Harry Kalis, being in trying to you got the Phillies PA job with Gene Hart there, Merrill Reese, like three legends. For really four or five with Bill Campbell plus Byron Som. I think Philadelphia. I mean, I don't know about other markets. I mean, you always hear like Jack Buck in Chicago, in St. Louis, excuse me, Vince Scully with the Dodgers. I'm sure there's a few others around. You know, Harry Carey with the Cubs going way back, and
yeah.
it's as far as you being growing up a Phillies fan, an Eagles fan, who were your idols growing up as far as that athlete was?
Robin Roberts, Richie Ashburn, my father were my heroes. Uh, Chuck Bednarik with the Eagles, Wilt Chamberlain, Guy Rogers, Paul Arizin with the Philadelphia Warriors. Um, those were the guys I rooted, Mike, for everything Philadelphia. High school, college, or pro,
Right.
and what a great sports city we have.
Oh,
And
amazing.
going to Connie Mack Stadium as a kid, oh my gosh, I felt like I was in heaven. And sometimes, well, when I was about 7.5 years old, my mom and dad and brother and sisters moved from Southwest Philadelphia to Mount Ephraim, New Jersey, and that's where I played Little League baseball. Later came the county baseball. As a matter of fact, our Mount Ephraim team won the Camden County Pony League Championship in 1962. In the championship game, I was the winning pitcher and knocked
Oh,
in the winning run.
oh
Uh,
well.
and But I don't have a whole lot of athletic accomplishments to boast of, Mike. Uh, but I knew sports, and having
Right.
played a lot of sports, and I think it equipped me to be able to do a good job as a public address announcer and a play-by-play announcer. I think you can tell when you're listening to a play-by-play announcer who doesn't have that familiarity.
Right.
Um, and of course, one who had that familiarity in the extreme was the great Harry Callis. And, when that ball went up in the air, you knew from Harry's voice whether it had a chance to be a home run, warning track, whether it was a
Right.
pop up, whether it
Oh yeah.
had a chance to be caught. Some announcers, there's a ball in the air. Where? How
Right.
far?
Well,
You don't know.
especially on the radio when you can't really see the game. Whether you were sitting out on the step or in the car, and Harry going swinging a long drive.
Oh,
Watch that baby out of here. Home run, Michael Jack Schmidt.
hey,
But
that's pretty good, Mike.
thank you. Well, like you, I mean, I've always wanted to do some type of sports talk. Grow up playing. Loving football, baseball, basketball, hockey. Playing it in the street, playing. Organized Little League, Pop Warner. Like this, to me, I always wanted to do pop. I mean, I've been doing podcasting 3 years, and I can relate. But I'm not at the. I don't. If I can reach the level you're at, praise the Lord. If not, I mean, I'm just. I mean, I feel like a kid in a candy store just talking to you now, just reminiscing about old. This Philadelphia is just an amazing sports town, and it's just not only the sports, not only the players, the amazing fans, but as a Philadelphia fan, we've been fortunate to have PA announcer like yourself being around. I know you have the longest tenure in Major League Baseball. Also, Gene Hart, Harry Kalas, Merrill Reese, and so on. And I was going to ask you about Will Chamberlain. Recently, there's that show that's on Showtime called Goliath. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but
haven't seen it. I can't wait to see it.
Have you? It was a great mini series. I believe it's 3 episodes. And did you happen to know Will Chamberlain on a personal level?
I did. In fact, one of the proudest pictures among the many sports photos that I have is me interviewing Wilt Chamberlain in 1973 at the Hampton Roads Coliseum when he was the player coach of the ABA San Diego Conquistadors. And I mean, he was one of my heroes growing up, like I mentioned earlier. And boy, was I so sad when I heard that Wilt passed away. But I, love Big Five basketball. Wilt, we had Wilt come back to the Palestra one night. Of course, he played in the Palestra for Kansas. He played his college basketball at Kansas. And oh man, what a player! And I used to hate the Celtics. They won every year, but I've come to appreciate them, more so recently for what they've achieved and the teamwork they displayed. Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, Bill Sharman, Tom Heinsohn, Satch Sanders. But of course, I was a big first Philadelphia Warriors and Philadelphia 76ers fan. And that 66-67 team that was 67-13 with Wilt Chamberlain, Luke Jackson, Chet Walker, Billy Cunningham, Hal Greer, Wally Jones, Larry Costello, head coach Alex Hannum, maybe the greatest NBA team of all time.
Back then, just watching Goliath, there was a lot of stuff I never actually, didn't know about. I knew the Warriors moved to San Fran / Golden State, and the Sixers were the Syracuse Nationals. Eileen C. checking in. Thanks for checking in, Eileen. Mr. Baker, do you have a favorite player that you like to call, I guess, coming up the bat? Do you have a player of all time that?
Well, I have, Michael, I have a few of them. Usually the ones that are my favorites, I almost hate to say a name because as trite as it may sound, I really love all of those guys and consider it such a privilege and want to announce every single one of them with a lot of enthusiasm. And wouldn't want to shortchange anybody in the process. But I think the names that I enjoy saying the most are the polysyllabic words, multiple syllables. Like now batting for the Phillies, number 12, second baseman, Mickey Morandini. You see? Multiple syllables. Now batting for the Phillies, number 19, left fielder Greg Luzinski. So you can do more. Like another one of my favorites, although he has a one syllable last word. Number 8, catcher, Bob Boone. But
Right.
you can only do so much with one syllable. You know what I
Right.
mean? Uh,
About
Number
Nick
50.
Castellanos.
Yes. Yeah. And now batting for the Phillies, number 10, catcher, J.P. Real Muto. That usually gets a
Love it.
pretty good response from the fans.
Oh yeah. Mako Spencer says, Mr. Baker, what's your fondest memory of the Phillies live?
2, 1980 World Series champions, 2008 World Series champions.
You know,
Just great. Now, second to that, announcing all the Phillies postseason games, including last year, 2022. But, along the way, 1976, 1977, 1978, as well as 1980, 1981, 1983, 1993, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, all of those postseason with the Phillies have been so special and such a privilege for me to announce.
Sean, my colleague Sean Kilrain checking in. Thanks for saying, what's the most memorable game that sticks out to you announcing any any game, whether it was Eagles, Phillies.
Well, I did three. I did the Eagles for 29 years.
Right.
You may or may not know.
At the Vet and the Link.
Yes, and enjoyed that very much too. I was very proud to do it, and did 3 NFC Championship games. But I would say the Phillies World Series championships were winning at home at the Vet in 1980 and at Citizens Bank Park in 2008, Mike. They're the zenith. I mean, I've done many NCAA tournament games, at the Big Five, Temple football, Penn football. I did the Army football highlights on TV. I've done 13 Army Navy football games at Lincoln Financial Field. And along the way, I've had the privilege to introduce 4 presidents of the United States. I'm very patriotic, as I hope people know when I introduce the anthem at Citizens Bank Park and the Vet.
Absolutely.
So again, it's Mike. It's hard to maybe pick one thing from among those many wonderful opportunities that I've been given.
You also have done Drexel basketball, correct?
I did Big Five basketball, LaSalle, Penn, St. Joe, Temple, and Villanova, Drexel basketball, and I really enjoyed that immensely too.
Well, I know you have a commitment going on at your house right now, but I want to thank you for coming on. I know it took you a little bit to get on here. I'll tell your son-in-law thank you for his help, and we appreciate. I appreciate you deeply for coming on. Like I said, I know you took time out of your schedule, and here at my show and Out of the Box Sports Entertainment, we do thank you for coming on this evening.
Well, Mike, best of luck to
It's
you.
a
I
pleasure.
always enjoy seeing you at Citizens Bank Park. You're a real gentleman.
Thank
And best of luck to you and your podcast. And when you had asked me a few weeks ago to be a guest, I was really happy to do it, and happy for you with the initiative that you're taking. And I think these podcasts are very worthwhile. and I'm very proud to participate with you.
Thank you. And Eileen C. said, loved hearing your stories, Mr. Baker. Baker, thank you for coming on.
You're quite welcome. I hope to have a lot more of them, Mike.
I'd love to have you back anytime. Again, I appreciate it. And thank you. And I will be seeing you a week from tomorrow with that goat. Can I just touch on one more thing?
Sure.
What are the Phillies going to do at the trade deadline? And what do we need? What do we need most?
Well, I think we're going to do something. And the reason Dave Dombrowski is a great baseball man.
Oh, absolutely.
And
One
what
of the
an
best in the
asset.
game.
He reminds me, Mike, so much of Hall of Fame general manager Pat Gillick. Not only can he make the big trade, he can supplement a roster with key reserves who can make a difference and help bring a team a championship. And I think Dave is very much that way. And God bless John Middleton, CEO, general managing partner, who's giving him the financial resources to accomplish this. I mean, look at the nucleus that the Phillies have. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Oh, it is, absolutely. You got some, core veterans and, young guys like Bryson Stott, who I think, it's like just quoting Bryce Harper yesterday. He's going to be a special player. Alec Boehm. You got that young nucleus with the veterans. I mean, those guys have taken the young bucks under their wing and, showing them how winning's done.
I agree with you. And I'm really optimistic, Mike, about this year. I see a lot of similarities between 2020 and how about the job Rob Thompson's doing as manager? Wow, lifelong coach, and what a brilliant job he did replacing Joe Girardi, a very good manager in his own right, who was struggling here with the Phils. But Rob Thompson did a brilliant job last year. To me, he's continuing to do a great job this year. And boy, does he know the game. And he does such a great job with the personnel. And we've got a lot of good players here. And I think we're going to get a few more by August 1st.
I agree. I mean, he's the maestro. And Mako Spencer said, how do you feel about Scott Rowland going in the Hall of Fame as a Cardinal instead of a Philly?
Well, I wish he was going in as a Philly, of course.
Right.
Number 17, he spent like his first 6 years in Philadelphia, was the Rookie of the Year in 1997. I've got a few pieces of Scott Rowland memorabilia in my home: an autographed helmet, autographed ball, autographed bat. I was then and remain a big Scott Rowland fan, and wish he had served out his career, as a Philly exclusively, like the greatest third baseman of all time, number 20, Phillies third baseman Mike Schmidt.
Absolutely. Well, I won't cut you short. We appreciate the couple extra minutes.
But my pleasure. My pleasure, Mike. Best of luck to you.
And
go Phils.
Go Phils. Go Birds, too.
Absolutely.
I will see you a week from tomorrow, so enjoy your time off, enjoy your party, and have a good evening and have a good weekend.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Great to be with you.
Thanks again. Hope you have you on again.
See ya.
Take care. Have a good evening. So, folks, there it is, Mr. Dan Baker, PA announcer, the longest tenure PA announcer in Major League Baseball. been with the Phillies 52 years. I wanted to touch on a couple of our sponsors before we get out of here. First of all, I'd like to bring up about Big Al, a.k.a. Jason Fine, a.k.a. Big Al. Slip, fall, workman's comp, personal and injury claims, 3 locations throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Philly, Cherry Hill, and out in Pittsburgh. If you know of anybody, a slip, fall, any workman's comp injuries, give Big Al a call at 1-800-HURT-123 for all your. Now the Box Sports Weekly lineup. We have a couple. We actually had a new show start the other night for you Commanders, Washington Commanders fans. Commanders Gridiron. That was a pretty good show. Now we pretty much will have all the NFCs covered. I mean, Monday we got the Joystick Junkies. We got my colleagues and myself with the Sully Squad. The Big Blue Power Hour Tuesday. Commanders Gridiron extra innings with Dave Yarnell and my colleague Joe Sullivan. Wednesday, the Bat Cave we have the college football frenzy starting up. 9:30. We had Dave Yarnell, Mako Spencer with them 215 boys. Thursday, of course, yours truly, the show, Fuji's Philly Flair. Tomorrow night, we got the Atomic Drop Wrestling Podcast with Dave Yarnell and Fry. Saturday, we're going to be starting the Irish Notre Dame pregame and postgame show. Wow, the Vegas sports on. The Vegas sports scene. And Sunday to be determined, the Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, and Washington pre and post games. Coming soon, we got the NFC's Roundtable, the Debate Room, Lights, Camera, Action, the Birds Corner, and the Old School Show. So for all your podcasts, check out our lineup from Monday to Saturday. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight to see Mr. Dan Baker. It was a pleasure to have a Philly legend, a Philly sports icon on. So everybody have a good weekend. Call a friend. You never know when somebody's going to need, reach out, needs a hug. Because today, everything's hard with life. We got to pick each other up. So reach out. Get somebody you haven't talked to in a bit. I'm signing off. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Flair. Everybody have a good weekend. I will see you next week. So have a good evening, have a good weekend, and have a good night. Thank you.